and I'm not afraid to say it's like a small town Hallmark murder movie. Like, what is this so bizarre? The things that have happened were like, who's writing this script? Because they need to like take a nap and touch some grass because this is getting really freaking
Yes.
weird.
Well, that's
You know?
the old truth is stranger than fiction. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the Another Nobody podcast with me, your favorite nobody, Travis Myers. Today we're going to talk about the terrible story of the Wix girls, Jennifer and Adriana Wix, a mother and daughter who went missing back in 2004 and to this date have still not been found. Our guest today is the host of the Missing in Hushtown podcast, Jules Thorp, who joined the family of Jennifer and Adriana Wix, who have tirelessly continued to advocate for these girls year after year for over 2 decades now. It's a wild and heartbreaking story, full of lies and deceit, and one that sadly is still a mystery. But we're going to get into all the details now with our friend Jules, and that's it. Here we go. Jules Thorpe, how you doing? So good to see you, dear.
Doing great. It's so good to see you too. It's been a few weeks, I think maybe 3 weeks since CrimeCon.
Yeah, something like that. 3-4 weeks since we were at CrimeCon together, and what that was 2 or 3 months after we got together at oh, shame on me, the True Crime Podcasters Festival.
Yeah, in
Did I
Boston.
get
That
that
was a
right?
fun
That's a lot of
one.
words. So
It's a huge one.
yeah,
TPC, I don't know. It was fun. I enjoyed that one. I especially loved exploring Boston though. That was real fun for me.
yes. Did you get to go to Salem at all?
I did. I
Yeah,
made it a very big point to go.
Salem's a fun. I hate to say it, and I don't want people writing in. When I've been though, my favorite part is the architecture. I kind of find most of the witch stuff for me is just kind of cheap and hokey. I hate to say that because I know so many
Yeah, it is.
people love to go there, but the architecture is what I could go there every weekend just to look at houses. You
Well,
know?
and the true historical side of the Salem witch trials is cool architecture too. I mean, it's the cool buildings,
Yeah,
well, I guess it's very kind of colonial primitive looking, but I mean the real stuff that matters for history, not the hokey stuff. The street is super hokey. I mean, it's like walking through Halloween Town or Hocus Pocus, but I feel like everyone goes there knowing that it's super hokey.
yeah.
But they play it
Well,
up,
that's
man.
that's part of what makes it fun. That's part of
Yeah.
what makes it fun. So,
Yeah.
but we're not here to talk about Massachusetts or Salem today. We're here to talk about, well, a case that you know quite a bit about. You've dedicated a nice piece of your life and a lot of time to it. Okay, which is well, I'll call it the Wix girls, but it's about Jennifer and Adriana Wix. Correct? I got their names correct, right? Which went missing in March of 2004.
Correct?
Okay, very good. And your podcast, well, you have numerous podcasts, which please, before we're done today, mention all of them because I want everybody to check you out because the work you're doing, I think, is it's very important. It's You're doing a great job, trying to find these missing girls and other missing people, which we'll talk about it too. But today is going to be dedicated to the Wix girls. And so please go ahead, tell us. Your podcast is called Missing in Hushtown. Now, I know I had asked you before, but I want for our listeners now, Missing in Hushtown, I thought was Springfield, Tennessee, but it's more than that, correct?
It is more than that because here in Middle Tennessee, we're about 45 minutes north of Nashville, and it's a small, I would call it like Friday Night Lights vibe kind of country football town, and it's called Robertson County. And
Mm,
Robertson County is made up of a bunch of different little towns, and Cross Plains, Tennessee, and Springfield are right next to each other. And so the case goes back and forth between the two, but out here it's basically just kind of one. But properly it is Cross Plains is a little separate than like right now I'm in Springfield and I can go 3 minutes to Cross Plains, so it's all intertwined. Yeah,
And now I'm going to assume that Hush Town is because nobody likes to talk there.
correct. Imagine good old boys, your Mima and your Poppy and their great Poppy did handshakes generations ago, and then you still abide by those rules. And it was very good old boys hush. And the thing was, Travis, everybody said to me before I started, everybody knows what happened, but nobody wants to talk about it. And so that's when I was like, oh, okay. So hush, hush. That's not okay. But I'm not from this town originally. I came from the West Coast. And so to me, I was like, what are you talking about? And I don't have I have no kin connection to any of the players, none of them. And so I think that was a little bit of an advantage to come in.
I was just going to say, I bet that helps you, you
It
know?
does. It
And
does.
don't think too, just because you're in, small town Tennessee. Yeah, I come from New York City, the most populous, you know, city in the country. And when it comes down to neighborhoods, we always said, you never holler cop, which means you don't talk to the police, you know?
Mhm.
And,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
it's, and also on the investigator side, it is tough to get people to talk because they don't want to get involved. They don't want it to affect their lives or their families. And I can imagine in a small town, it's even harder.
Yeah, that's the common phrase. I don't want to get involved. I wish them well. I'm not getting involved. I'm like, okay.
Well, let's get started. Please describe, everything that you knew or how you stumbled across this case, and then, tell the story of the Wix girls.
Sure. I'll try to synthesize as best as I can. So you might have to pull me back on
No,
the
that's
road
okay.
here.
We got all the time. Oh, we got all night. Don't worry about it.
um, so I first came across this case because I asked a women's group in our town about true crime cases, recommendations, because I started a weekly true crime podcast. So I said, do you have any recommendations for weekly? I'm doing a true crime podcast. Also, then I plugged it. And everybody kept saying the case in our town, the Wix girls, the Wix girls. And I had lived here, I think 9 years by then. And I had taught high school in this town. And I had no idea about this case. And it gets worse. The high school I taught at, there's a memorial bench right outside I had to walk by when I taught at this high school for like 6+ years, dedicated to Jennifer Wix. And I never stopped and realized the engraving. I thought it was a girl in a car accident from the high school. And so that right off the bat told me, okay, well, they need some help advocating a little bit and getting loud in this town. But I was a little afraid at first, to be honest. I didn't want to get murdered. I think that was my biggest intrusive thought was, well, is there a reason that this was such a horribly handled case and that this isn't solved? And I have 2 young boys. So that was if I didn't have kids, it'd be a whole different story. But since becoming a mom, that's like my hard stop, nothing to put them in there. And I'm just a civilian, out here in the country. And so I said no. And then I found out from my son's preschool teacher that my son's friend in preschool is Jennifer Wix's cousin. And I'm like, stop it. So at his graduation, I went and talked to the cousin's mom, and she's on the podcast as well. And we're friends now, and I absolutely love her. And she got me in touch with Casey, and Casey is Jennifer Wix's sister. And when we were
Yes.
talking together, we realized this is not a 1 episode story. This is intense and insane. We've got to do a whole season. So I got online and looked up how to do an investigative podcast. How do I do this? I had been listening to them for years, so I had a fairly okay, as a consumer, but there's a lot of things I had to trusty Google.
Sure. Well, and now you're putting yourself into a spot too, and I don't think I'm wrong when I say this, where you went from somebody who was doing the podcaster thing, for more, everybody always likes to throw ethics into the podcasting thing, whatever, I'm not going to make note of that. But, this is entertainment that we're doing. People want to hear it. People want to know what's going on. But you jumped from doing a more strictly entertainment styled podcast. So now you're actually investigating a crime. What you and Casey is the one that helps you with this now, right? She's been a
Mhm.
big help for you, if I
Yeah,
got the names right.
she's phenomenal.
Phenomenal, right? And you guys truly are. And when I say this, I don't mean it disparagingly. Armchair detectives. You're putting hours and hours into this, and banging away on the computer, so much so that you're actually wearing out a pair of shoes, walking around talking to people, right? Going from town to town to get as much information as you can, so that you can help the current detectives or investigators who are working on a cold case that's 20 plus years old now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just that's so nice that you acknowledged all that. I don't typically I'm just taking it in. I don't typically that's really kind of you to say that. Uh, I
Well,
think
it's the truth. Yes.
and there's that line where I always come back to I won't hurt the case, I'll help the case. So if I'm hurting detectives or the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation efforts, then I suck at my job and I'm interfering and I'm not helping. So why am I here? So we try to be super mindful with that, but also we do know we have to kind of push the line a little bit and poke a little bit because it is almost a 22-year-old case. And there are so many developments that I know that we'll get into in just a little bit. So hang tight, everyone, because the last 2 years have been a doozy in this case, like a doozy.
Well, that's one of the things that I hate to use the word, but the fact of the matter is the entertainment quality of it is it has taken some very interesting turns very recently. So
It's like a small, and I'm not afraid to say it, it's like a small town Hallmark murder movie. Like,
yeah,
what is this so bizarre? The things that have happened were like, who's writing this script because they need to like take a nap and touch some grass because this is getting really freaking
yes.
weird,
Well, that's
you
the old
know.
the old truth is stranger than fiction. But let's back it up a little
Yeah,
bit
let's
and
do
let's
it.
go all the way back to what is it, March of 2004.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll start there and then we'll kind of jump back 6 or 8 months earlier into 2003 to how this all began. But please go ahead, tell us the story
Yeah.
of Jennifer, Adriana, and her. Uh, uh, well, I'll let you introduce her boyfriend Joey. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Um, the last known contact with Jennifer Wix, who was just 21 at the time in 2004, is March 25th, 2004. So she was living at the time at her boyfriend's family home. So in the home, there were four adults. Bowie, who was her boyfriend at the time. And actually, we reveal in the podcast that he actually was her fiance. And that does matter because it does indicate the oddness of his story about what happened when she disappears. And you guys will catch on to that. Um, but she's living in the house with Joey, Joey's father, Joe, Big Joe, and Joey's mother, Cindy. So there's four adults, and then there's little Adriana, who's just two, and she's not Joey's daughter. She's Billy Williams' daughter. Billy did not know that she was his daughter until she goes missing. And he's a phenomenal guy. He's my brother. I talk to him all the time. I just saw him this weekend. He's phenomenal, and he will not quit to do what's right to find his girl. Um, and I will say that as soon as he found out that he could possibly have a daughter, he stepped up, did the right thing, went to see her. He knew right away it was his daughter and agreed to the paternity test right away. And then they were waiting on the results of the paternity test when Adriana goes missing. So he didn't want to be involved and plant himself in this little girl's life and then remove if he wasn't her dad and then, take that relationship away because he wouldn't have any rights. So he's trying to do the right thing and it's devastating. So March 25th, Jennifer makes a few phone calls from inside the Benton home. According to the Bentons, nobody's home during the afternoon. So, according to the Bentons, Big Joe, is out of the house. Cindy is gone and Joey is at work. And that has been corroborated. The Joey part has been corroborated. He's at a work site about 20 minutes north across the Kentucky line because we're situated right under Kentucky. So
Hmm.
it's just like a 20-minute boop boop back and forth. Um, and she calls her dad, who she was really, really close to, and sadly he just passed away, I believe this last month. So it's very devastating. She calls her dad and tells him, Cindy's acting weird. He hears somebody in the background. According to him, he heard her talk to somebody in a voice in the background, and Jennifer says, "Hey, I'm talking to my dad." And that's key because we don't know if anybody was there or not, and that's kind of the big question we have is, was somebody there? If she gets off the phone and yells at somebody, that can prove someone's there. But she goes on to explain to him things are rough in this house. Things have been rocky between her and the mother. Joey's mom, Cindy, and her were they did not click. Cindy was a very difficult woman, and it was a very odd relationship um, between Joey and last Um, okay, so she also calls her Aunt Lisa and relates to Aunt Lisa that things aren't great. She had previously lived with Aunt Lisa, who lives just a few miles down the road. And actually, Aunt Lisa is how Jennifer met Joey in the first place, because Joey was best friends with Aunt Lisa's son,
Okay.
Jeffrey, who is
Let,
Jennifer
let me.
Wix's
I don't want to
cousin.
interrupt you, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
So we have okay, four adults here. How old is Joey, and how old are the parents? I'm going to assume they're probably going to be in their mid to late 40s. I'm just guessing.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and so I'm going to assume that Joey is probably older than
He's
Jennifer,
about
but I
three.
don't
He
know.
was about 3 years older, I
About
believe,
3 years
two
older.
or
Okay,
three.
I was just curious what the dynamic was in the
Yeah,
household.
yeah. Joey's an adult. He was an adult age, still living at home.
Yes.
Yeah, and in fact, even more impressive, he was living in the shed. So they called the party barn. Um, Jennifer and Joey and Adriana were living in this fitted out kind of storage shed that you see on the farm lots, or like where lawnmowers, drive in
Hmm.
sheds. And it had some insulation and electricity. And they were living in there. And when it got too cold, they moved into the house. And that's when we believe things got even worse between
Okay.
Jennifer and the family, because they were all back in the main house together, and Jennifer didn't want to be in there. So bringing it back to when she's on the phone with her aunt says, "Come by the house. You come here. Bring the girl here. Bring Adriana here. There's a key for you in the grill outside. You still have a room here," because she had previously lived with her. "You have a room here. Adriana has a room here. We love you. I have to go to work, but there's a key." And that's important because later Joey will say that he took her to two different locations where she made phone calls and got picked up by someone. But that means she had to leave her past her aunt's house. So going into that, that's the last confirmed communication. There was another phone call made from inside the Benton home in between the call to her father and her aunt. There was a call from inside the house made to the work site in Kentucky where Joey was working. And Joey says also he got called home from work. At the time, I believe it was corroborated with the work site manager that somebody called and Joey said, "I have to go home." So he does come home early. And Jennifer had relayed to her father, "Joey and I, like, we're having problems, but he's going to come back early. I'm going to pack a picnic. We're going to go eat lunch and talk about things. It'll be okay."
Interesting. So that's again, well, I'm not going to get into it because we're going to pull this apart a little bit more. But so if we can paint a picture, just because I want to touch on something that you just mentioned, okay, and again, paint our picture a picture for our listeners
Absolutely.
is so here we have a family who owns a home. Okay, they're homeowners. From what I understand, they live on like over 50 acres, correct?
It's like a family, not really a compound, but out here, families own tons of land and then they divide it up to different generations. And
Sure,
so
sure.
they owned about, was it 20 or something acres with their brick ranch house, and then the grandparents owned. So yeah, it encompassed about 55
Quite a
acres.
bit of property. multiple homes, okay? And this kid Joey has got a real job, and
Mm,
yet they're living in a shed.
time if he yes, okay, yes, he had. I'm sorry, I'm jaded and I can't get over that.
Well, no,
He has
well,
a real
I guess
job,
what I'm
the
kinda gonna
construction
get to
site,
now
yeah,
in the end, yeah, he's got a construction job. He's making better than minimum wage for sure, all
yeah,
right? He travels back and forth to work. Um, but again, you mentioned that they're living in the shed. They don't have a proper apartment. I'm gonna assume that everything is not as it should be, and when it's cold, they have to move into the house together. Is there, like, a lot of drug use here? What's going on with the
yes,
money? Yes.
yes.
Immediately, yes is your answer.
Yeah, and the records show it too. Um, the the drug charges, the possession, I mean, it's multiple. It's just for both the father and the son. And the barn was called the party barn, and everyone knew that's where you go to get drunk and do drugs. Yeah, not a place for a little girl. And Jennifer knew that as well. And there's a bit of we can get into how he treated her and some things that he did, which can help explain her motivations to wanting to leave too. But
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good point. It's a
Well,
really good
that's
point.
again, so that because that's I'm getting that feeling, but I wanted to paint the picture, especially for our listeners, you know. So,
Yeah, like father, like son, essentially, is what I will say, because the documents back it up.
mhm. Yes, and both and now Joey Senior, who is Joey Frank Benton, correct? And he had quite a criminal history himself.
Yeah, there's aggravated assault on there. There's a ton of drug charges. They also went through like a bunch of legal paying not paying their mortgage, things like that. And this all is around between 2002 and 2004. And then after that, a lot of these charges and stuff kind of drop off, and because they weren't coming out of that house.
Hmm.
They were
Yeah.
staying in there. And everything we know that I'm about to tell you from this point on is according to Joey. So for the first 20 years, Joey has sworn up and down to law enforcement, to news outlets, to the family that Jennifer and Adriana were alive when he dropped them off. So according to Joey, he gets home from work, they drive around, they get in a fight, they break up. She says, "Take me to the food value," which is now a Piggly Wiggly here in Cross Plains. And he says they stop there. She gets out and makes a phone call. Well, the problem with that, Casey and I mapped this many different ways. She has to drive past her Aunt Lisa's house to go to the food value to make a call, to then allegedly call someone to pick her up the opposite direction of her aunt, to pick her up from a gas station. Joey says he drops him off at a gas station. Now it's March. It's cold here at night when the sun goes down, the temperatures drop. Adriana didn't have her only coat with her. It gets returned to her mom later. And he says that they get into a four-door Mustang or Camaro. He changes it. He says both.
Yes.
And he watches across the street, parked at a church parking lot, and watches them get in and drive. And that's fine with him, which nobody really believed that story anyway. But unfortunately, what happens is that story then gets picked up by news outlets. And the narrative over all these years is Jennifer and Adriana Wix went missing from a gas station in Cross Plains, Tennessee. No, they did not. They went missing from the Benton family home in Springfield, Tennessee, off Owens Chapel Drive Road.
Hmm.
Excuse me, Owens Chapel Road. And that's kind of one of the things that we're trying to say. And he goes even farther into saying that the next day he goes to work and comes home, and Jennifer comes by his house in the morning and says, "I want my tax refund check." She had a job a bit ago, and then the family had agreed his parents were going to cash it for her because it would be easier, apparently, as about $500. And he says she asked for it. He said, "Well, my dad's not here." And she said, "Well, I'll come back." Doesn't get anything else. Adriana's not with her. She's driving that white car, he says. So this is twice he's seen this white car, according to him, and he still doesn't know what it is.
Right.
And this is a car guy. I mean, they have a classic car sitting in their driveway right now. I know because I drive by. Beep, beep. So It's absolutely bizarre, and the lies have been going on for so many years. So unfortunately, Jennifer and Adriana were pretty much written off like runaways, and there's no Amber Alert because Adriana was with her mother, and so her mother had full custody and right to take her anywhere she wanted to go, according to police. So there's no Amber Alert. But they wrote her off as a runaway, an adult, free will, do what you will. Although the family was telling the police, please, this is dangerous. This is dire. This is not like her. She talks to us every single day. Nobody has seen her. Nobody's heard her. The last place was at this boyfriend's home. So finally, on March 28th, 2004, the missing persons report is filed for both of them. And an officer
Okay, so
goes
that
out
was 3 days later.
3 days later.
Yes.
And an officer goes out to the Benton home. Joey's there. Officer Mike Campbell, a wonderful man. He was only with the police about a year. He quit after this experience. It's horrific. And he does an interview on our podcast as well. Just a great guy. And he goes out and he talks to Joey from, the threshold of the door. And there's a few things that stick out to him. Number one, there's a car seat in the house. Adriana's the only baby. And he is wise enough. He says, yeah, those car seats, you got that one? He goes, yeah, that's the only one. And Joey apparently says to him, I hate struggling to get it in and out of the cars. Mike Campbell tells his superior officers this too. Nothing gets done. But he thought that was super odd. So they were granted, they come back and they're granted a walkthrough. They couldn't open any doors. The family didn't want them to go anywhere else, but they just kind of walked through. They walked back to the shed, but it was locked, so they couldn't go in. And that's essentially the extent of what goes on. And later on, they try to do searches. The fire and rescue, the local chapter, Mr. Brian Edwards, puts together a search team to go on the Benton property, gets the great grandmother Benton to agree to search because it's overall their land at the time. And unfortunately, Big Joe Benton, calls down and screams at Gene Bollinger, who was the sheriff at the time of Robertson County. And Mr. Bollinger then tells Mr. Edwards, the fire and rescue, call it off. And
now let me back this up just a little bit so we can understand.
yeah,
3 days before the missing persons report is filed, how long until that first police officer went to the door?
I believe it wasn't until they filed the missing persons report, but that
We're probably 5-8 days in by now.
no, I think it was on the 28th that they did
On the
stop
28th.
by,
Okay.
I believe.
And he's granted a walkthrough, but there's no warrant. There's no real search that's done.
No,
Okay.
nothing.
And how long before the fire people come to then and the fire is coming to do a search. The fire department is coming to do a search of the entire property, but not inside the houses.
Correct. On the
Correct.
land.
It's just a search for, bodies or children or whoever might be in the woods or the
Yeah.
fields or whatever it's made up. So
Yeah.
there's no searches done of the buildings.
No, and it's interesting because the fireman grew up in that area and knew the grandmother, and so he was able to say, just let us on so we can rule it out and then let it go. And she goes, okay. But it wasn't until her son, Big Joe, makes a huge deal and calls and cusses out that Bollinger calls it off. Now, Bollinger at the time as well, he that's a different podcast, but he went to school with all of them. They all grew up in this Owens Chapel community. Big Joe, the fireman, the sheriff, they all knew each other, rode the bus, all growing up. Family's generational. So that's part of what plays into this too.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody knows everybody. And right here, Jules, we're going to take a quick break. All right. And We're going to come back and we're going to continue this story, which again becomes quite a bit more interesting as we go on. We'll be right back, everybody. This is a 2024 American Eagle gold coin, which I bought along with several others last year. I'm very happy to report that its value has gone up over 40% in the first year. See, I was encouraged to buy some gold by a financial advisor friend who suggested I be more diversified with my investments. She said gold and silver was a very safe place to park some money, as well as a good hedge against inflation. So I took her advice, and all I can say is I wish I had bought more, as it's been so very, very good to us so far. Now, I purchased these gold coins from the good people over at stackingboise.com, who could not have been nicer, more knowledgeable, or more helpful. Now, I'm certainly no financial expert, but I will say from experience, if you're looking to make an investment, buy yourself some gold. And some real gold that you could hold in your hand, just like this coin you see here. And if you do, then do like I did and get with the good folks over at stackingboise.com. I'm telling you, they're good people, they took good care of me, and they'll take good care of you. Again, that's stackingboise.com. And hey, tell them Travis sent you. Hey, how you doing? It's me again, another nobody, Travis Myers. And today we're going to talk whiskey. I know most of you think of me as an all-American patriotic type guy, and you are right. But when it comes to whiskey and drinking whiskey, which I do, I always go for the Irish stuff. And my choice when it comes to the Irish stuff is Powers Irish Whiskey. Established back in 1791, it's a triple distilled, oak-aged whiskey. Powers is simply magic. It also happens to be the #1 selling whiskey in Ireland, which has got to say something, because if it's good enough for the Irish, it's good enough for you. So the next time you raise a glass, fill it with Powers, and think of me, another nobody, Travis Myers. Hey there, true crime fans. Let me introduce you today to the Cold Case Initiative. The Cold Case Initiative is a foundation that donates money to smaller police agencies all over the country. It does this in order to offset the costs of scientific, forensic, and DNA testing with the hope of solving cold case homicides and other horrific violent crimes that otherwise would remain unsolved. Please, if you have it in your heart and a little money to spare, go to www.coldcaseinitiative.org. Again, that's www.coldcaseinitiative.org and lend a hand where it truly is needed. Be a part of solving a cold case. Every little bit helps. Know that 100% of the donations that go to the Cold Case Initiative go to agencies that are desperately in need of the help. So please, if you can, do the right thing and make a donation. Thanks, and all the best, my friends. All right. Welcome back, everybody. We are here with my good friend, Jules Thorp, talking about this just terrible missing persons case of Jennifer and Adriana Wix, which is now 21 years old. Am I correct?
We're nearing 22. Yep.
21 years old. And just before we went on break, we had kind of well, there really wasn't much of a preliminary investigation at all by the police department, was there? And that's the local police and the state police. Nobody really paid attention to this case at the time. But now, over the last 21 years, there have been, well, several different detectives involved, and I believe numerous different searches of the property and the surrounding area. Do you want to kind of explain that to us a little bit?
Absolutely. So, when the girls went missing, the Wicks family was doing everything that they could to bring them home. They were standing in front of that food value in the middle of Cross Plains handing out flyers, and they recall so clearly how people would roll up their windows and drive past. Uh, there was not the support that they have now in our town. Our town's very supportive now. They rallied against us. We call ourselves the Wix Warriors, but they didn't have that for many decades, almost. And so Jennifer's mom, Kathy, was essentially doing most of the work herself. So she recalls going up to different states, following leads from psychics, going to different towns and random houses. There were some leads in Florida that she went. Was it Florida? I can't. It might have been Georgia, but anyway, out of state that she went down to go get eyes and make sure it wasn't. And sadly, obviously, it was not. But she also was crawling through cornfields, spying on people to see when they would leave, so she could check their trash to see if there's any evidence of a little girl living there. She would wear wigs. She would dress up like a Pizza Hut delivery person and drive by people's homes and go through their mail, and the lengths that she went to try to find her daughter. And all the while, law enforcement is not looking. They are not looking because the narrative that they are choosing to believe is that Jennifer and Adriana Wix left on their own. And that brings us up to some of the searches. So there was one search on the great grandfather Benton's property. He allowed a search, and the family brought out cadaver dogs. And there was a hit. There are a few hits, but they were not allowed to continue to search. Big Joe stopped it. Again, another theme that we have. And now all that land, since the great grandparents died, all that land is owned by Joe and Cindy. Well, shortly after the girls were last seen, the Benton family builds a house. So they pour this 3x3 concrete pad, which, if you're not familiar, like I was, and I learned a lot, that's actually overdoing it for building a home. So a 3x3 is strong enough to hold tanks. It's essentially the foundation you want in like the Lowe's, where you have all those equipments in there and all of the
Yes.
beams, and they mixed it by hand. So they hand mixed it all as well, and they essentially first were saying it was a barn, so the permit was different. We pulled the permits as well. They said it was a barn, and then eventually it's their home. So their home site, it's called the Cindy, something about Cindy. But this home was built shortly after the girls went missing. So there's rumors circulating that the girls were killed by the Bentons and that their bodies are in the foundation of this house. And this house is right next door to the brick home where Jennifer and Adriana were living with the Bentons at the time. And I believe law enforcement did radar the beams, the columns, but not the foundation floor. And that's important because that's where everybody wants to go and look. Fast forward to just 2020, well, I guess 2013, when it was reclassified as
Is a homicide.
as a homicide. Yeah. And that was just because they had not heard or seen or any
Mhm.
sign of life from the girls.
Well, that's the thing.
Which
That's the thing that people, it's so hard when, again, as a civilian, when you're out of that police world and you just don't understand that there's so many laws and rules that you must abide by, you know. Um, and one, right away, a little girl going missing is a big thing. They pull out all the stops for a child with her mother. It's a whole nother world because a mother can do anything she wants with that child. I'm not making excuses. I'm just
No,
explaining,
yeah.
you know.
And yeah, and she's the one that had the sole custody, and she's an adult, and you're
Exactly.
free to
And
go
so
about your
it
life.
changes the rules of an investigation and what fits in as a missing person. So we've already lost all that time. And then the same thing with getting a warrant. Getting warrants are not easy. You have to have some sort of evidence to present before a judge. And even if you have evidence, if it's not strong enough, the judge isn't going to help you out because
Right.
he's not going to put his name on something where you're going to go tear up somebody's house and rip down walls and, disturb things and have it be nothing. He wants to make sure there's some juice there, you
Well, let
know?
me ask you this.
No, please go ahead.
If as a detective, you get word that there's the missing adult and her daughter, and then the family also says he's pulled a gun on her and threatened to kill himself and her before.
Yes.
That adds a little bit of urgency or no?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely. But
because that is
again,
true.
uh, again, and I don't know, we're going back 20, well, that was my time 20 plus years ago, but I don't know what the statutes are in Tennessee. And again, I'm not making excuses for anybody. Please
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
It sounds like the ball was dropped from the first day as far as what they did, and I can't believe that they weren't more forceful with Joey and Joe Senior and Cindy. I would have had all of them in what we call the box, the interview room, where we would have interrogated the shit out of them, you know. But that
Could
being
have used
said,
you.
after the fact, and when it comes to now, we're talking about searches and warrants. You got to get that from a judge. It's not up to a detective or an investigator or the state police. And if a judge doesn't sign off, and again, I don't know if it was ever even applied for, but um, you're so far behind on this investigation now. They could have had these girls anywhere.
Yeah, and
Like you say, there's a good chance they built a house over them.
there is a good chance. And I've dropped these little morsels of information in the podcast. We go through every single morsel. But for the sake, obviously, of time and interest with everyone watching, we're giving you kind of just the biggest pieces here so you can kind of piece it together as well and maybe help us out. It's interesting because one of the odd things, Jennifer and Joey were planning a couples bonfire. It was already planned on March 25th, the night she went missing, or the day after. I believe it's for the day after. And Joey still had his friends come over for the bonfire, and they ask where she is, and he tells them she's at a friend's house. And then someone else asks, he tells them a different friend, a different story. And then there were questions of, were they burning the car seat? What was inside this huge bonfire? And we interviewed a gentleman who was friends with Joey at the time, and he recalls how they were always burning stuff on their property. Now, to me, it's not always super odd because out here you burn your trash. If you're not from this area, it is weird. But it's very common you burn your trash piles. But the fact that it happened right after, and then nobody from that bonfire was willing to come forward and talk to us. They didn't want to get involved because now they have prominent jobs in the county. And I was like, well, you get to live your life, so you got that. Yeah, so March 28th, March 27th, it is the 20-year anniversary the girls have gone missing. And I get a call that there are law enforcement vehicles swarming the Benton home. And I'm like, okay. So I call Casey and I'm like, do you need me to go there? Because she's moved out of this town, but I'm here. So I'm like, you need me to go and see what this is. It's eerie. Like 20 years to the day they reported the girls missing. And so I go, there's TBI, ATF, bomb squad. They have that bomb robot that looks kind of like
Yes.
Wally. So I go out there and there's ATF, TBI,
And
local
for
law
for our
enforcement.
listeners, I don't want to interrupt you, but for our
Oh,
listeners,
yeah, sorry, acronyms.
TBI is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
Right. Yep, that's our state level. And so they've been on the case for years now. And we have some really great agents now on the case. I will say, if I don't remember to say it later, I want to make sure I say it now. The team we have now is doing a great job. There's a lot of respect for this team now. And we know that they're working really hard. We've seen it because we've been watching. Not to be creepy, but we show up. And we've been proud and supportive of that. So we want to make sure we don't screw anything up for them. But yeah, so I actually end up being there for 9 hours. And it turns out that Casey gets a call from the TBI while she's driving on her way there that it's not for Jennifer and Adriana. And then they have to move us down a block over because they found bomb making materials. So it became this huge thing. But the good thing about that was it circulated through the news. Already there are going to be little tiny, memorial articles about our county's longest unsolved homicide. But now, all the rumors are sparking and all these people are talking. And this is before the podcast came out as well. And so it was a very devastating time because I was watching Kathy and Casey, mom and sister, sit for hours across the street and wait to see if they were bringing anything out or evidence locks or bags, and nothing. It was devastating. So what they
Yeah.
were there for, Joe Benton assaulted his wife, Cindy. She calls the cops, files a police report. Subsequently, this violates his probation he had for other assault charges, and he goes to jail. While he's in jail, the family discovers images of sexual nature of children on a device at home that gets turned over to the police. Now they have a warrant to go search. And while they're searching, which is the day we're there on March 27th, 24, while we're there is when they find bomb making explosives and a ton of guns. Well, Mr. Benton's not supposed to have any of that, obviously, because he's on probation. So that violates. So he sits in jail for a long time. And then finally, when it comes to the day of court, everything gets dropped. All of the gun charges, because they're not in his name. They were not registered in his name.
Right.
The assault charge
he had
dropped.
everything in his wife's name, correct?
The assault charge was dropped because she did not show up to court. The exploitation charge was dropped because that individual did not show up. And so the only one that stuck was bomb making materials, and he got time served already. And so by the time he gets out, it's a year later. So he spends a year in jail.
Now, do we have any idea why the child pornography was dropped, or was it? Here's my question:
Well,
was it on an electric device, or was it actual photographs? Do we know?
it was on a computer.
It was on a computer.
Yeah.
Okay, but they probably just couldn't. I'm just going to assume they couldn't say it was his. It could have been his wife's, his son's, his cousin's, a guest. They couldn't tie it to him directly. Is the only thing I can imagine.
Correct. Now, they do know who the image is of.
They do. Okay.
Yeah. And there were a lot of rumors that it was Adriana because it came out, it was a 20-year photo of a minor. So that came out at the 20-year anniversary. It was so coincidental. And so everybody was like, this is it. This is how we're going to get them. They're going to come home. But it was not. It was not Adriana. One piece I did not share in the beginning was that Adriana had previously been to the doctor the week that they went missing for a diagnosis of vaginitis, which can be caused by multiple things. One of them just being irritation from, a diaper being too long. The bacteria grows down there. Another one is it's a sign of sexual abuse. And we talk in the podcast that it doesn't really matter what caused it to Jennifer. It matters what she believed. Did she believe that her daughter was being assaulted in that home? And does that bring all this to a head? Is that where this starts to come about? I think we can confidently say that Mr. Joe Benton was a piece of shit. So anything is kind of possible with that. And we don't know what they said, but over the years, Joey and Joe were interviewed, and you can see him on television interviews. I hope they're okay. No, you don't hope they're okay. And here's why. Because his conscience is starting to circulate. It's starting to go, go, go. So while we are doing this podcast, his dad's in jail. We're about to release this podcast. He's talking to Casey. Joey is talking to Casey for the first time in years, like texting her, talking to her on the phone.
And again, just for our listeners now who aren't familiar with the case, Casey is Jennifer's sister.
Yes.
Yes.
She leads the charge for the Wix Warriors, and she is fierce, strong woman. And she asked him one day, "Will you just talk to me?" And he texted back and he said, "Sure, I will." And then he starts telling her stories and stories and stories. And we get tips about different stories. We go out, the TBI goes out and does digging because we think we might know where the girls are. All of that leads to dead ends. One day he says, "I got to talk to your mom, Kathy." And Casey's like, "Okay." He goes, "I got something to say to her, but I can say it to you too, but I want to look your mom in the eyes." So I go down to Springfield and I reserve a room at the library, like the public library, because I'm
Yes.
like, it's public, it's glass. Our PI can be there, Billy can be there. But they end up not using it and going to a restaurant in town. And Kathy's sitting there and he walks in and sits down and he looks her in the eyes. And he says, "I've lied to you for the past 20 plus years."
Yes.
And he says, "When I got home that day on March 25th, 2004, where he previously said the girls were there and then they got in a fight and he dropped them off alive, now he looks at Jennifer's mom, Kathy, and says the girls were already dead at my house when I got home that day." Could not believe it. I don't know how Kathy didn't come unglued, and she looks at him and she gets more information. And I can't share with everybody yet the whole story. And I so will. I always vow to come back and tell the whole story once it's okay for us to do so. But I will say, for you to piece together what you want, anybody watching, is the story he told about what happened removes any responsibility of the girls dying from the Bentons. Now, what he did say too was that there was an admittance of a disposal of the girls' remains. So we've just learned, according to Joey, though, and he's telling this while his dad's in jail,
Yes.
and this still leads to no arrests, no search warrants. And now, we're like, what do we do? Well, the podcast comes out in August on Jennifer Wix's birthday. We go to all the court dates for Big Joe. He gets out this March. And for the first time since I started this process, since I decided to do this podcast, for the first time I was scared. When Big Joe got out, everybody felt doom and gloom for some reason. I'm not really scared of him, but it's dark.
Let me back you up just a little bit
Yeah.
because there's some questions that I have here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Did you, uh,
I
or
wish you
Kathy
were
or
with me
Casey,
on this team. We'd probably have this thing solved by now.
did anybody record um, the conversation with Joey?
That would be good if they did.
It was not recorded.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Okay. Well, and okay, and so again, so our listeners understand. Okay. What do you call it, Jules? You are not being cagey. You're not trying to keep things from us. This is an
Correct.
ongoing
Yeah.
investigation, and you
Yep.
cannot talk about certain things. There's certain things you can't say, and that's why you're not saying them. And so everybody understands that this hopefully will come to an end soon. But at the moment, because it still is an ongoing investigation, there are things that the information belongs to the police and nobody else at the moment. Okay.
Yes, and I will say anything that the family collects, any of those goes right to law enforcement and
Yes.
TBI.
Yes.
So any of that information is a straight pipeline
And now
immediately.
here's something that I read or heard or saw. Um, but did Joey outright implicate his father, Big Joe, in this crime?
No.
He did not implicate. Okay.
And we were wondering, when Big Joe was in jail and Joey was at home, could this be where they finally start to turn on each other? Who's going to talk first?
Right.
And that was really a race, and we were really hoping, because it was really looking like that might be something that would happen. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way. And we don't know why, but the most recent version that has been told from Joey's mouth himself, is the most recent that we have. And it's kind of hanging out in purgatory grief because the girls are not home. They can't get on that property. So
Yes.
right before Big Joe gets out of jail, Cindy files for divorce and she gets an order of protection from him. So this means that he can't be anywhere near her house. Well, the house next door, which he could have gone in when he got out of jail, the original brick house, is too close. He couldn't go there either because it's too close. So where does he go? We don't know. I believe he got out March 7th, and this March, and he was had his first probation meeting. He didn't have a cell phone, so that already violated because he didn't have a point of contact. And I
Hmm.
believe because we have all that paperwork, it said come back in 3 days. I believe it's March 10th, and make sure that you're compliant. And his registered address was like homeless. Well, he never shows up. And then he becomes most wanted in Robertson County. But they don't announce it anywhere. We only know because we watch the website. And so we
Right.
put out the flyers. We tell everybody this dangerous dude is out. You need to watch for him, please, and don't approach him. Call the police immediately. We never want to incite any vigilantes ever. And what's interesting is July 4th, right next to the big freedom celebration we have in Springfield, a human decomposed leg is found in the creek and the Greenway in Springfield. And we don't know anything about it. And we throw a 5K on Jennifer Wix's birthday to raise money for legal fees for the Wix family.
So this
And
is now, again, 4 months after his release. He hasn't made his probation meetings.
no,
Nobody can get a hold of him because he doesn't have a phone. We know there's this giant property with several buildings, but nobody has a clue where he's living.
correct. Now, we do know through other family members that law enforcement was out there checking, obviously, for him. Um, but there, yeah, it was unsuccessful. Nobody claimed to know where he was, and not picking up a social security check, not getting his life dependent medication that he needed. So there were signs. Um,
And then it's the 4th of July, you said?
it's the 4th of July, and
And
that
this
evening,
leg shows up.
a whole leg shows up, so decomposed though that it takes until, when did we have our 5K? August 16th. I threw a 5K for the family in the town, and we were originally going to go run through downtown and end on the courthouse steps. But because of kind of some red tape, we couldn't get through all the intersections without hiring cops, and that's expensive. So we switched it the week before to the Greenway. And the same path we were jogging over with Justice for Jennifer and Adriana Wix everywhere on Jennifer's birthday, singing her happy birthday. That same path is where the leg was found. A few days later, the family gets a call that that leg is Joe Benton's.
Joe
Big,
Benton's
big
leg.
Joe's leg. And now
Yes.
we're like, well, where's the rest of Joe? But it was so like the goosebumps because everyone knew we're running over the leg road, the leg creek. And um, it was like an ominous, like dark feeling too. And now we don't know where the rest of Joe is. I will say 100% do not believe he's alive.
Very
Um,
unlikely.
very
Very, very
unlikely.
unlikely.
Very poor health, old man, not, and he's only 67. He wasn't old, but he was an old 67. He looked
Yes.
like he was almost 80. Poor, and no, he lived his life hard and tough, and he wasn't a good person. So his heart was probably black. I can say that. But yeah, so that's where we are now. Now, unfortunately, so the family and myself knew that the leg was Joe's quite a bit of time before the public did. And when the information comes out like a week later, it gets leaked out, and everybody's talking about it, and it's exploding everywhere. It's making national news, and it's interesting because a reporter did their job very well and released information the family wasn't announcing yet. So it's out there, national news, and that's that the family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Bentons.
Yes.
and that is where we are now. And I hate for them. I know it's public information, the lawsuit filing. It's on there. You can see that. But I hate that the family didn't get to say that on their own terms. Um, that's devastating. But again, we've known about that lawsuit for a long time. I've known it was coming for a long time, and it helps kind of explain what you were doing, Travis, earlier, explaining why I'm not saying a few things. But that's where we are. Joe's gone. Don't know where he is. Cindy now owns all that land. His family property. She owns it all. Joey lives at home. He had a sister, Amy. She's back at home. She just got out of jail for meth charges, and then she was on the run. She wasn't on the run. She was living at that cabin. And they are falling down on each other from the inside.
Now, do we have any hopes, Ryan? There's no way you're gonna know, but any hopes that somebody's gonna come clean now? Be it with Big Joe gone, of course they're gonna put all the blame on him anyway. But that
Yeah.
Joey and or Cindy and or even this daughter or somebody will come up and say, yes, this is where the bodies are. You may never, sadly, you may never get a conviction on this case.
Yeah.
Okay, but
That's the sad part.
at the very least, if you can find the bodies, the remains, it's hopefully will be some sort of relief rather. I'm sorry, relief for Casey and Kathy.
It's interesting because we've gone to multiple sites of locations where we were given information from that family and then from other people in that family. I've myself been digging with Adriana's father, and we've not turned up anything yet. And in the TBI and the law, I believe our district attorney was even out there one day in his suit and tie, getting in there. We could see it with the binoculars across the street. But it's not on the Benton property, but on another location. So he's given locations before, which it's not turned up anything. And that's the devastating part. And so now Casey's really pushing almost every day. She posts, search the Benton property, search the Benton property. It's so eerie. There's this documentary, if anybody's seen it. Do you watch documentaries on Netflix?
Sure.
Like, I think it's called Into the Fire, about that young gal who, her mother had her give her baby up for adoption. And then the adopted family, the adopted father ended up killing the girl. And he actually buried her in the backyard in a barrel, and for years and years. And it's interesting because there's so many parallels. And both Casey and I watched it and we got chills because our last chapter of Missing in Hushtown is titled And Now We Know. And we did that before the documentary came out. And that's basically the last line of that documentary. And now we know. And it's just, sadly, it's not an uncommon situation that people might never actually know. I don't think anybody's actually going to come clean. I don't think it'll be Cindy. I don't think it'll be Joey. I don't know, though, because meth is a crazy drug.
Yeah.
And Joey has proven that he dabbles one toe in that water of talking, and just enough. So I don't know. I sure hope so, because this family, it's shaped every aspect of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a terrible story. It's a terrible story.
It is terrible.
It's so
Even just,
heartbreaking.
we're working on it every week. Just this weekend, one of the gals who supports us did a big fundraiser, yard sale. She had everybody donate, and then she raised almost $4,000 for the Wix family for their legal fees, because that was like 3 emails the way that they charge. And the Wix family are not well off. They cannot afford this, and unfortunately, because the state's not going to go after them, they have to go after them civilly, and that is so expensive.
Yes.
And none of us have money to do
And
that.
and even then, what are you going to get in the end? Even if the judgment comes, in your favor, collecting is a whole nother story on top of
Oh,
it.
yeah, and they don't even want, all they want to collect is responsibility from someone and the truth. When I start every long form podcast, I ask two questions. What does justice look like to you? And what would it take to get justice? And Casey told me first tier is to bring the girls home. And then second is that justice is served to whoever did this to them. But if the girls never come home, then for them, justice will never be served.
Yeah. Well, sadly for me, justice is a word I hate to say I don't believe in. It can never be
Yeah.
made just.
No, yeah,
It
that's
can never be
accurate.
made just. I
Yeah.
mean, hopefully the family can find some peace. You know, they're fighting the good fight, and I really hope they find some sort of peace with it. While they're still, here on Earth to do it.
Yeah.
And now let me ask you, talking about funds and how expensive this is.
Yeah.
Where can people give us some information that people
Oh,
can
that would
help
be
try to help
amazing.
you out?
That would be amazing. On Facebook, so Casey runs the Facebook, and it's got quite a large following now. She's done a great job. But you want to reach Casey, you have a theory, you have a tip, send a message to Justice for Jennifer and Adriana Wix on Facebook. And Adriana has two N's, and Wix is Wix, because Casey answers everything. She answers every single thing that comes in. But there's a link tree in there where you can donate for any of the legal fees. And I mean, y'all don't know me from Adam, but I can vouch every penny that we raise goes directly back into that legal fight and everything that we're doing to raise awareness. We show up to all of the community events, all of the community yard sales, all of the First Friday markets. We have booths. We go to everything and have booths and hold up signs and talk to people and do it in front of the courthouse. So we always would love more Wix warriors to even just join us online, and follow the story because it helps
Yeah, I like
tremendously.
I like Wix Warriors. It sounds a little corny, but it's very catchy,
Thank you. That
and
was the
and I
goal.
know, no, it means something though, because people attach themselves to that, and now you have another young girl that you're looking for, and she has her own brigade.
Yeah, Bethany's Brigade.
That's right,
So,
Bethany's
and
brigade.
we've talked, that goes back to when you were talking earlier about entertainment. So, we talk about, nobody's going to listen to your podcast or care if it's not entertaining. So, in order to sustain like the advocacy and being vocal and having people come back and care, you have to entertain. And so, part of that is like marketing and coming up with Logan's and I was gonna say slogos, logos and slogans, not Logans,
Yeah.
that people can relate to and feel like they can be a part of it. And I hate that that's part of the game, but it's exactly what we have to
Well,
do.
but they can identify with it and they'll remember it, 'cause you might be doing "Oh, what is that? What is it? Oh, yes, Bethany's Brigade, the Wix Warriors. I get it. I understand it. It's something I wanna be a part of. It's something I wanna help with." I think it's very clever. So whoever came up with that, it's very, very clever.
Thank
And
you. It was
and
me.
very good. And the work you're doing is tremendous. And please, please, if which I know you talk to them every day, and I'm sure they're going to see this anyway. But give the Wicks family my best. I mean, it's a tragic, tragic thing to have to work for. And people, please, listeners, if you can, get a little change in your pocket. Send it to their Facebook or their link tree or whatever the thing is called to help out because it is so very, very expensive. And you guys have done billboards and lawn signs and things like that,
Yeah,
yes?
we fundraised. We had four billboards, I
Or
think.
billboards.
We have lawn signs. You can't drive from the Benton home to any part of the towns without driving past a ton of lawn signs. Actually, we put one in their front yard too.
Yes.
um Not on their property, right on the line.
Hmm.
And yeah, so it's everywhere. We wanted it so that they couldn't go to the supermarket, they couldn't go to get gas without seeing Jennifer and Adriana's face.
Well, and that's the thing too. When it's funny, we always have so many. causes. I'm not beating up on any causes, please don't get me wrong, but there's always these, with the bunny ears, different causes that you have to raise awareness. So many of them we're all very aware of, and again, I'm not trying to beat up on anything, but here is a cause that nobody's aware of. And what you guys are doing is great because you are bringing awareness to this case. And people don't understand just how many, many, many thousands of people that go missing every year and will never be found.
It's staggering.
It is shocking. Shocking. Staggering is a good word. It's unbelievable. And again, my heart goes out to the Wix family and everybody else out there that's missing a loved one. It's a terrible, terrible, tragic thing to have to live through. So
It sure is. From what I've seen, I always tell the family I'm on the out orbit. They'll go, "No, you're part of the family." I love that you say that, but I'm not. I'm on the out orbit, and you need me on the out orbit. I need to be on the outside because I have to see things a little differently, or I have to take over this project when everybody in the family is struggling with all this insurmountable grief. And I'm happy to just be orbiting with them, around them, but not in.
But you're doing a good thing, Jules. You're doing a great thing. So
Thank you very much. I
and
appreciate you.
I know you're very well appreciated, but I appreciate what you're doing too, please. And I know my listeners do. So
Well, thank
all
you.
right,
I appreciate that.
all right, my love.
I appreciate you.
Well, if you be so kind, please, when you get a little bit more information on, again, it's Bethany Markowski.
Yeah, that podcast comes out October 22nd. We're releasing the first 4 episodes all at once. And
Okay.
then each subsequent week, we're releasing the next one. So it's kind of like the hybrid release model. And Bethany has been missing since 2001. And Tennessee is March 4th is Tennessee Missing Children's Day because of Sweet Bethany. That's the day she went missing. So yeah, it's a big case. So if you follow us on social media, we cover all the cases. We take you along. We're about to do a foot search, start up that foot search team for Bethany. So that's going to be the whole next year. So we could always use encouragement and supports and prayers.
And again, that is Missing in Hushtown.
Yeah, the
And it is
closest link to find me though is your host Jules on
your host.
Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's the one I'm on all the
And the
time.
media company is Fire Eyes Media.
It is.
Correct. All right.
Yeah.
And again, anytime if you have stuff you want to get out and spread awareness and just get the word out, please give us a call. You come on here, you talk anytime you want.
I'll be
right?
back.
I hope so. All right. So nice talking to you, Jules. So nice talking to you. Thanks for everything you're doing. And I can't wait to hear,
We're gonna get them.
information that you can't release. So
All right. Thank you guys.
all the
Thank
best,
you,
my love. Take
Travis.
care.
Thank you.
Wow. Crazy story, right? And how about that leg? Sounds like whatever happened there, well, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. All right. So as we said, this is still an open investigation. And there are several things that Jules and the police aren't sharing with the public. So let me encourage you to please go listen to the Missing in Hushtown podcast for more and hopefully some upcoming details, because I know myself, I'm very interested to see where this case goes. And until next time, please, as always, do the right thing. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a lot when you guys do. All right? And remember, you can catch the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can also watch it on the 4 Boston's Media channel on both YouTube and Rumble. That's all I got for you this week, my friends. All the best. Hey, how you doing? Another nobody here, Travis Myers. This one's going out in particular to all my drinking friends out there, because I got a new favorite thing, and it's called Shanky's Whip, and it is magical. It's Irish whiskey mixed with a little caramel, a little cream, a little vanilla, and it's heavenly. What more can I say? I suggest you pick up a bottle. You can have it as a shot with a cold beer, like I like. On the rocks, it's great. Mix it with a little cola. I promise you, you're going to love this stuff. Next time you raise a glass, think of me, another nobody, Travis Myers. Hey, do the right thing. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of my nonsense. All the best, my friends.
Buy our books!
Listen up. This one's important. I'd like to try to encourage you, please, to give to the Stephen Siller Foundation, Tunnel to Towers, at T2T.org. That's letter T, number 2, letter T.org. Do good for those who've done good for you.